Hey guys, Possum Sausage Forge. Quick little update on my Flintlock rifle build. So I've got my tap in yesterday. Finally was able to do some tapping this afternoon, and I've got 3, 4, 5, 6 holes tapped. Cheap Amazon tap, kind of scary to use, and it's already getting kind of hard to turn. I ordered 2 of them because I figured, I'd only be able to tap a couple holes before they get hard to turn. And they sent me a 640, and the other package was a 440. So I got a hold of Amazon. They're going to ship me another 640 tap. I've only got one more hole to tap, and that's going to be the one in the tumbler for the screw that holds the hammer or the cock on. So it gets drilled and tapped, that tenon, and this big head screw would go in, and that'd be what holds that assembly together. But yeah, so I was able to get the pan is held on by a bolt back here, and you can see how it locks in there. So that's good and tight. Then I was able to, like I said in the first video, deck this flat until I had a really good mating surface between the frizz and the pan. Then I could clamp those together, drill through for the pivot screw for the frizzen. And then once the frizzen was in place, I could put the frizzen spring in, which there's a nub on the spring that goes into that hole, and then it's held in with a screw. So what you do is get the frizzen put in, put the frizzen spring in that hole, the pivot back here, and then you apply roughly 1/8 of an inch of movement up on the spring, after it touches 1/8 inch. And they give you a little mark to follow for drilling that, but they say don't rely on it because it could be different. When you assemble this assembly up here, that will determine where the frizzen spring needs to go for the proper tension. So it ended up lining up on this one so I could drill in the divot they had, but it might not always work out that way. So yeah, there's that. It's nice and snappy. Might be a little heavy on the frizzen spring, but can't really tell until you get the main spring in, and then just test it and see everything balances out. Does it eat flints? Does the frizzen only open part way like that? If it doesn't kick open, so you really just have to get everything together and figure that out. So next, what I've got to do, actually I'll flip you guys around. So here's my, try to keep all these little parts on the sheet of paper. For one, if one of these screws gets down in the crack in the workbench, it's kind of a bugger to get out, but then easier to see everything as well. So try to do this while looking through a camera. Next thing is going to be this bridle. So I can drill. You can see that divot. That's the divot I was telling you about, how they have those kind of ready to go. But I need to clearance drill that, and then it will get screwed on here. They give you these guides. So this up here is the sear spring hole. So what you do is you screw that guide in. Once you drill the clearance hole in this, you can put that bolt in, then you rock it up until that bridle is up against that block. With that rocked up, this hole that's tapped, you run your tap back through until it touches the bottom side of the bridle back here. And what that does is that marks exactly in line with the screw. And what that hole is for is that is your sear pivot screw. I guess it'd be like this. And that just gets drilled with the clearance. Once you get all that together, so that way it can be bolted up solid, you flip it over, and this guide, it's like a plastic bushing, you press into the pivot for your tumbler, and then the clearance hole in that is for a 11/64 drill bit, I believe, which is the size of the post on your tumbler. So then your tumbler is perfectly lined up with the hole on that side. And then it's just a matter of cleaning everything up, getting it all polished and put together, and see how it works. I also need to tap the hole for the jaw screw. And almost all these parts come with, the sprues are still on them. They're rough casts. I mean, you have to, depending on how clean you want to go, you have to file all the casting marks off. And then I'm thinking of doing some engraving. So I need to get everything fit and down to a good polish, make sure it all works. And then I'll probably do some engraving. A lot of these screws, you can see this one up here, are proud. So those all need filed down. As far as the rest of the rifle goes, I built a hand plane, and it's a 3/8 radius, so a 3/4 round. And this is just a scrap of some 15 and 20, I assume, bandsaw blade. I believe this was teak. It was actually a free flooring sample I got. And then it's just got a scrap piece of, it's actually curly maple, pretty nice curly maple, but scrap piece of maple. I don't know if this is a characteristic of teak, as hard as it is, if it's very oily, but the wood glue just did not hold. I had it glued, and then I put these little nails all over the place, and it just popped apart. So, had to run a bunch of screws in it, which I don't really care for, but it gets the job done. But anyway, I made that to rough in the barrel channel. So I've got the barrel channel roughed in, basically back as far as the plane could go. When you're using the plane, this comes up, so you can't really get down in there, but from there forward, I've got a 3/4 round groove, and the barrel is 13/16 octagon, so I've got a little bit of play widthwise to go. But before I clean up back there towards the back end of the barrel, I need to start inletting the tang, and by inletting the tang, it'll keep your barrel from rolling back and forth as you're dropping it down and carving out material. But before I do that, I need to figure out what style tang I want to go with. Do I keep it square like this? Do I want to forge it out into some sort of taper? A lot of the, like Bucks County, I ended up not doing this on my 50, but a lot of Bucks County, they had the thumbnail look. I don't really know what to do yet. I still haven't determined exactly what type of rifle I want to go after, but need to figure that out before I can move forward with inletting the barrel. But once the barrel's inlet and the lock is put together, I can actually inlet the lock then in the stock, and then it's down to inletting the butt plate. And like I said in the first video, that kind of determines the overall shape of the rifle. So yeah, moving along, I gave you a little update. I probably have, off and on, I might have 3 or 4 hours in the kit, probably, the lock. So it's really not bad. Just take your time and go through in your mind, the process of what affects what. So, like, perfect example, in order to get this spring on, I needed to have the frizzen in place. In order to get the frizzen in place, I need to have the bridle on, or pan. So you have to go through the order of operations in your head of, I need to make sure that pan fits down real nice and tight in the plate, then I can screw it fast. Then I need to fit that to the frizzen, make sure that's nice and tight, then you can screw that fast. Once all that's screwed fast, then you can adjust for your frizzen spring. And then it's going to be the same deal, you know, back here, where you get that brattle put on, get that screw in, make sure it's up nice and tight. Then you can drill for this hole. Make sure that's nice and tight. Then you can line up for your tumbler hole. Make sure that's nice and tight. And then if you do, you know, everything in order like that, everything falls together. If you go by the instruction sheet that comes with Seiler kits, it says, you know, it's pretty good about the order of operations, but it doesn't really tell you how critical it is. So it tells you to go ahead, you know, drill all the holes except for the frizzen spring hole. It tells you to wait on that one. But it tells you to go ahead and drill everything, tap everything, and put it together. But you really need to take your time, just do one step at a time is ideal. So, yep, that's my update on this build so far. Like I said, probably have about 3 hours or so in the lock. And a lot of that's just hand filing, cleaning up the casting marks. And then I've probably got, well, it probably took me a better part of an hour to kind of dream up and build that plane. And then working on the stock, I had to deck this. You know, that was pretty wavy. It was just roughed out on a bandsaw. So I had my little scrub plane, my jack plane, my joining plane. And then I used my rasp. Made this for part of the blacksmithing challenge group that I'm on. So that's a hand stitched rasp, half round. This thing mows through wood real nice. I love this. So I probably have, you know, a couple hours in the stock as well, decking that, getting it nice and flat, and then cutting that groove. So if I were to guess, I'm probably 6 to 8 hours into it. Maybe I'll log my time on this one. Maybe I don't want to. Probably don't want to know how much time I'll have when it's finished, but thanks for watching.